Yo, 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 what is going on, everybody? Good evening. How is everybody doing? My name is Ed, obviously, of the Dad Hat Chronicles. And with me, I got my two co hosts. They join me every Tuesday and Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. The mayor himself, Mr. Wise, Donnie Wise. How are you today, my friend?
Doing well. Finally
Oh,
warm after that snow this morning.
hey,
Flurry.
that was not here in North Carolina. So keep it up there in the Buckeye State. And then, of course, the other co host is the prospector himself, Mr. Pat Larson. How are you doing, my friend?
My friend, I'm happy to be here with you guys, and don't quite have the heat wave that the mayor has up there in Ohio, but um,
All right.
but we move, and it's good to be here.
You know what? He can, like I said, he can keep it there, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah,
we're good. Yeah,
massive heat wave.
we don't need that. We don't need that kind of negativity down here in the South. They
That's
can
right.
keep it down there. Um, guys, let's get started. Let's get going, right? Not a whole lot going on. Like I said, every week I say this every day. Not a whole lot going on in sports. The baseball winter meetings are
Mhm.
going on right as we speak. And guys, the Major League Baseball draft has been set. It is done. And then for the very first time in their club history, the Cleveland Guardians are the number one pick in the draft. I'm a little astonished as the fact that that's actually happening. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
How did the Orioles not get the number one pick? They get it
How
every other year.
how did the Oakland A's did not get it is what I want to know.
I
Kind of
blame
feel
Las
kind of
Vegas.
I blame Vegas. I blame Vegas. Yeah, the odds were not in their favor.
Nope.
So
That's great for Cleveland, though. That's outstanding.
I'm okay with it. I'm totally okay with this. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
Oakland got the fourth pick, so they didn't even get two or
They got-
three either.
They didn't.
Honestly, I mean,
What is going on, Phil? Breaking news: Otani tried Waffle House and loved it. I think we know where that leads. I
he got
highly
that.
doubt that he ends up in Atlanta.
Phil, he got that on the way down to Dunedin, Florida, when he was visiting the Blue Jays. So,
Right.
that was just a pit stop while
It
he
was
went down to see
it
how
was, yeah, it was a
the
little
new and
quick pit stop.
improved Dunedin Spring Training Complex. So,
There it is.
it's a good pit stop. I'll give him that.
And before I go, guys, I wanted to shout out because I told you guys I was going to do this, but a little shout out to Eric Lichtenberg. I was able to get some Lonely Blonde from American Blonde Ale, some from Fulton Brewery up in Minnesota. This thing is absolutely delish. It is beautiful. It is just so smooth. So shout out to them. Okay, I'm gonna have a drink right now.
Well, and I'll do a shout out real quick to the Lazy Hiker up in Franklin, North Carolina. Picked this up when I was up there for Thanksgiving. The Night Hike. Nice
I like it. I love the name. I love these
Yeah,
names of
yeah.
these local breweries that they come up with. Man, that
Nice
is
motor
a
oil.
I was just
Oh,
gonna say
nice.
that is a dark beer.
It's good.
Well, I don't have anything quite in the way of local brews, but I do have it. I do have that Gatorade Zero. So, so Gatorade, if you're watching, love your stuff.
Hey, you know what? I'll be willing to put that instead of having the Data Chronicles logo. We can put that sponsored by any of these guys that we have spoken about tonight. So,
Hey, I love it.
all right, but let's get back to the business that is baseball, right? Again, like I said, the Major League Baseball draft happened. That is done and over with, right? We already know who is going to be, the people that are going to be drafting, which is pretty cool, right? Because like I said, for the very first time, Cleveland is going to be drafting number one. Oakland is not going to be drafting number one, which is kind of funny. The Reds are number two, which is interesting, right?
Yeah, like they need that, man.
Yeah. So I find it very interesting. So the odds at Cleveland would get the number one pick 50-1. I want to know just how many hats Donnie took with him to Ohio. Phil wants to know.
I think I brought about 15.
You are a good man. You are a
Very
good man.
And I've got
Very
a good
good man.
mix. I've got baseball. I've got that couple of brewery hats. I have some hockey hats. Just depends on what the mood hits me that day.
I got a box here. Hasn't been open yet.
Yeah, I've got one of those behind me.
47, baby.
Yeah, I've got a box that hasn't been opened behind me too.
I
won't even lie.
I think someone just said you had too many.
Well, I have a hat carrier that'll hold 8 to 9 comfortably, and then I usually take some of my dad hats because they're unstructured.
Oh, dude, they're
you can line the bottom of the backpack with a handful of those. But
there it is. This is the beauty about a dad hat. There it is.
I have on my Christmas list the from New Era, the 24 hat carrying case. So I'm hoping
I've got a few of those.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mrs. Mayor, Rhonda. What's happening, girlfriend?
Hi, Madam Mayor.
She has to put up with Donnie. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
That's an angel right there.
Speaking of Donnie.
Not that she couldn't FaceTime me, but these are the times she gets to see me live while I'm on the trip. So. She looks forward to having an hour of watching me.
There it is.
Right.
Hey, I'm okay with that,
Yeah, hey.
Well, that's what she tells me. I think she's actually here for you guys, but
no, she needs eye candy for.
She's here for the entertainment.
For an hour, so she gets to watch you with everybody with like at least one beast right here.
Kissing the babies, doing their thing. That's what it is, mayor stuff right there. Shout out to the mayor.
Yeah. Speaking of mayor stuff, I've got a real theory here.
Okay.
So we're talking about the Major League Baseball draft, right?
Sure.
Top 2 picks: Cleveland Guardians, Cleveland, Ohio.
Yep.
Cincinnati Reds, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yay.
The mayor is in Ohio. Coincidence?
I think not. Listen, Rhonda goes like, not really, just Ed and Patrick.
We love you, Rhonda.
Rhonda's like, I already seen enough with this man. He can go ahead and just, we good. I can see Ed and Patrick.
I can neither confirm or deny any back channeling going on in Ohio.
Well,
I love it.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, this just has the work, like the magic of the mayor written all over it. So Guardians fans and Reds fans have you to thank, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I'm okay with it, but I just hope. Okay, so let's start with this because I really do hope that Cleveland does right, because my wife literally just told me, and I said this. Darla said to me when I was saying, "Hey, by the way, in the very first time in their club existence, Cleveland is going to have the number 1 pick," and she goes like, "Why? So we can draft the player that we're going to lose in 3 to 4 years."
Well, how many teams really have? I mean, baseball is the sport where the draft picks may or may not really matter.
No,
I mean, unlike football and basketball, it's like you get drafted, you're playing right away, blah blah blah. I mean, there's a lot of busts in the top 10 picks every year,
and not only that, but you don't see them once they get drafted.
You can't really build a team based on draft picks in baseball.
No,
it can help.
But you can help it by developing the players right. So in a way, it's a good way. Or you can look at it as other teams look at it as potential trade pieces to get those other players. So
the Braves. The perfect example is that Braves trade that they made with the Mariners. The Braves traded one of their former first-round picks for Jared Kelenic, and so it's yeah, I mean, a lot of them can be like trade capital.
Yeah, right.
Couple of years ago, Austin Martin, in order to get Jose Barrios, the Blue Jays, flipped Austin Martin to the Twins to get Jose Barrios. So, I mean, it gets you that piece that you need to try to shore up a rotation or fill that hole in the lineup. So,
and realistically, I mean, you've got to hope these draft picks are going to pan out within 3 to 5 years. I mean, like, look at the Royals. I mean, the last 2 years, Columbia has had the Royals' first and second round pick. In fact, last year we had their 2021 and 2022 first and second round picks at the same time. They're all up at Quad Cities and towards Naturals now. But you got to hope that, come 2026, those guys are the cornerstones of that franchise. and hopefully they will be if they develop. I mean, that's the thing. Everything's about development. I mean, Royals had the 6th pick again this year. So, I mean,
yeah,
at some point that's got to cycle through. And that may be what has happened. I mean, Baltimore is probably an example of where some of that's probably been beneficial, their draft picks the last few years, because they've had so many high picks.
Well, how long were they were bad though, right? Like, I mean, it's been for so long. And then, and I had to agree with, Josh Whipple here, right? Cleveland, like, for example, like Baltimore, but Cleveland has been the developmental team for a lot of the rest of the Major League Baseball. We're quadruple A, right?
Yeah. Lindor.
That is the latest example, Francisco Lindor.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you guys have players that you could hold on to a little bit longer, and then you inexplicably trade them, like Rosario.
And they ended up doing really well, during the playoffs and all that. So, like, we traded him for nothing, because, like, then later on we ended up releasing the player, so it was like a salary dump, which was it made me so angry, when they did that. Oh God.
Well, especially when you guys weren't out of contention. And I know we've talked about this before, but you guys were not even out of contention. You were right in the thick of the race. In fact, you were in first place for a large chunk of that time.
We were. And then you started trading pieces away, and you're like, what are we doing?
Right.
Will Benson, Nolan Jones, right?
Good examples.
And then also just recently, who was put on waivers and picked up by your Yankees, Donnie. And so it's one of those things. It's just like, you got those bottom teams who are like, you're constantly, you want to root for them. You keep rooting for them. You invest your money and you buy hats. And I, like myself, you guys already know, I have well over 40 and 50 hats, that are just Cleveland alone. But it's like, at some point, you got to do something. You got to do right by the team, by the fans, but you're not.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you even have people like you, Ed, that inspire people like me to get Cleveland hats. I mean, it's
I don't know why you did that. I am so sorry for that.
I mean, you're just an influencer, and then you influence other people to get hats. So
it's what I do sometimes. I am sorry. I spend other people's money. I'm really good at that.
Yeah,
I'm really good at spending it. Sorry, Rhonda, you didn't hear that. So wait, by the way, there's the 47 brand. If you're hearing, there's still a sale over there going on, 47 brand. So
shout out to 47 brand, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're showing you some love there, Ed. So
absolutely,
they are indeed
retweeting you,
and I love it.
Yeah,
retweeting you and quote posting you, or whatever they call that now on the new
tweet.
Yeah.
Josh, I agree with you. He wasn't doing, but we could have at least gotten something in return. That's my issue, is the fact that, like, you let him go for nothing, and then what? Watch New York. They picked him up, right, and watch him become a star, in New York. That's the problem that I'm having. Yes. Could it be a change of scenery? Absolutely. We've talked about this ad nauseum here in the show, with not just in baseball, but in football as well, in which some of these players go to other teams and then all of a sudden do really well. My issue is we're just getting rid of him and not getting anything in return.
Yeah.
Since we're on the Guardians, Ed, I have a question for you. How do you feel about the new manager of the Cleveland Guardians?
It's I've been asked this question, and I said I don't know. Okay. Right. At first, I was having an issue because all indications pointed that Sandy Alomar wasn't even interviewed. Right.
Wow.
Which is a shame.
Exactly. But come to find out, he didn't want to be interviewed. He didn't want to go for the job just yet.
But he's been a coach for a while now, hasn't he?
He has, and he's still with the team, right? So he's still going to be the first base coach for the team.
Okay. Well, I think he's a manager type material. I mean,
he most certainly is.
I mean, and I'm a firm believer catchers make great managers.
Well, I mean, our current manager, it was a catcher,
right?
Right. So. Yep. I have hope, right? Listen, this is the time of year where everybody's hopeful, right? Everybody's 0-0 right before we get to February, right? You cannot you can't, excuse me, you can't win the division, but you certainly can do some things to lose it already.
Sure.
But so far, from what I've seen, the team that he's put together around himself is really good, right? Carl Lewis is still there as the pitching coach, which I'm really happy about because that guy knows how to put a pitching team. So I'm good with that. Sandy Alomar, he is going to still be handling first base and the catchers. I mean, the guy, come on now. Absolutely. I'm going to put this right here. I like Voa. I think he's good for the program considering he's a Francona type guy, that he's young. So he's got a huge opportunity to build something crazy here. Absolutely. Yeah. I think he has an opportunity to build something. He's young. He's still in his 30s, right? And he's still he's going to be able to relate to these players. My issue is ownership going to also in return invest in the team so that way it can become successful this year, next year, long term. Yeah. And that's my issue right now.
Well, I was wondering if they're looking to rebuild because I saw reports yesterday that Shane Bieber and Emmanuel Clase were both on the trading block. So and then having the number one pick, I guess I'm wondering what direction are the Guardians going in? Are they looking to do a full rebuild at this point, or are they looking to, because I don't see what the advantage is trading Clase and Bieber if you want to be competitive in a very winnable AL Central.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also like, what are you getting in return for them that's going to be better, and all that. So
if you trade Clase and if you trade Bieber, it's going to be one of the situations we're going to get some minor leaguers. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be minor leaguers, cash considerations, something along those lines. We're not going to get someone who's going to be ready for the major league, roster. And if we do get someone who's going to be in the major league roster, it's going to be someone who's going to be, that we're just taking him as a platoon person or something along those lines. That has been Cleveland's MO this whole time.
Yeah. Well, Braves a few years ago started signing a lot of their young guys early to contracts and trying to lock up a core.
So smart.
And I wonder why no other team seemed to do that. I mean, Milwaukee did that the other day with that young kid for them.
He got paid.
Yeah. And
82 million.
Yeah. I mean, that's like Cleveland, like Kansas City, like some of these other smaller market teams. They need to be doing that with those guys at that point. So
because you're not going to be able to compete with the Dodgers or the Yankees
those guys can't go out and spend, $200-300 million on a single player, and they don't need to. Nobody really does. But except Toronto with Shohei. But
and we'll talk about that here in a minute. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, sir.
But they need to be signing these guys to these somewhat longer term deals with some relatively good money and create that foundation of a team to build other pieces around them instead of just trading off your expensive blocks for more cheaper blocks.
Yeah. And it's like what the Indians, the Indians at the time, and now the Guardians, what they did with CC Sabathia, right? And they flipped into the Brewers and they brought in like Matt Laporta and like a couple other minor leaguers. And, you're hoping that one of them is going to, like, Laporta was the centerpiece in that deal, and he never really panned out for Cleveland. So it's just, it's always a risk when you're flipping your big guys, whether it's in the off season or at the trade deadline. I mean, you take a risk when you do that.
Yeah. Looking like Detroit. I mean, you look back at Detroit when they had that line, you always see that picture of all the pitchers they had at that time, Verlander and all those guys. It's like they ended up getting rid of all those guys, and who were the guys that they got in return, and what did they do for them? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody even know who they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I get your point, Zach. I completely understand on your point on, we have to be cautious on signing these young players, right, to big contracts, and then, them not having to pan out. My thing is, I think there's a balance, right? There's a balance in which the team can get a good deal as well as the player. That'll be, beneficial for both. So that way they're able to spend more money on other players as well. For God's sakes, we're wasting Jose Ramirez this year as a power bat in Cleveland. It's happened.
Yeah.
in front of our eyes. Now you're looking at saying, okay, we're trying to get rid of Bieber. We're trying to get rid of Emmanuel Clase. Who else are you going to get rid of? And then now you don't have a pitching staff that's going to be, because Cleveland is known for having a dominant pitching staff. You get rid of your ace, right? What are you going to have next?
Right.
And then you get rid of your closer. Jesus.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, is it like a Seattle situation where you're trying to only win like 54% of the time? I mean, it's I mean, it's a question.
It's true.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when you got fans like you, Ed, that are buying the hats, when you're there, you try to go to well, that was going to be a good thought, but I don't remember what it was going to be. So we'll move on. I'm sure it was going to be great though.
Yes.
Ooh. Verdugo to the Yankees, huh? Interesting trade.
Donnie's about to look.
That's
Here
a
we
Red
go.
Sox, that's a Red Sox Yankees trade.
You don't see that too often.
You
No.
don't see within the division that you see a trade like that, you know.
Verdugo is one of the main pieces that came over in the Mookie Betts deal.
Yeah, man. I don't understand some of these, and it's been pretty quiet, right? Now during the winter meetings. Now there's not a whole lot going on, which is kind of interesting.
Well, I feel like everyone's waiting for the Shohei shoe to drop, and then
You think
people
so?
are trying to plan from there. Well, it just the longer the inactivity goes on, it makes you think that.
Yeah.
And then I saw an interview on MLB Network that they did with AJ Preller from the Padres, and they were asking him about the Juan Soto deal, before he ends up with the Yankees. And they were saying that they might bide their time with him as well. But they got to bring down that unrealistic package that they're asking for. I think they were asking
There it is. Yeah.
for like 7
the
players.
The Yankees acquired Alex Verdugo in exchange for Greg Weissert and right-handed prospect Richard Fitz and Nick Judas. So,
well,
I have to be honest,
a bad pickup for the Yankees. Well, I think Verdugo is a solid pickup for the Yankees. Actually, I don't know. What do you think, Donnie?
Yeah, that's your team right there, buddy.
I mean, I don't know much about it, to be honest.
Well,
he's at a loss for words.
I do know that the Red Sox have a lot of like outfield prospects that are coming through their system. Like Roman Anthony comes to mind. Now he's a little bit early, but they've got they've got some bats and some young position players that are either infield prospects that they might want to try in the outfield. So maybe Verdugo was seen as maybe surplus to requirements. This is all, again, a theory, but I think there maybe while they could get something for him, trade him to the Yankees. But I think he's a good player.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing too. The Yankees have had such a carousel of players in the outfield. I mean, we've just that used to be a staple of you used to have like your outfield was set. Like you had your guys and not 12 guys platooning in three positions in the outfield.
But that's
injury. But most of the time it's like, yeah, this guy's pretty good. And then he has a slump and then he's out and somebody else is in. It's like, you got to get some solid guys. So maybe that's a step in the right direction to get, and some insurance too. I mean, Judge has had some injuries. You don't know what's going to happen with any of the other guys. So it's probably a pretty good pickup for us.
Yeah. But then I just saw Jeff Passan said, hey, don't be surprised still that, that the Yankees are still in play for Soto. Right. So,
I think Soto makes a lot of sense for the Yankees.
Oh, so do I.
Yeah. I mean,
and the Yankees,
that would be
I think, can still sign him. Now, I think that's one player that there's not a lot of players I think the Yankees will break the bank for these days. If Soto can perform in New York, that's one where I could maybe see them really breaking out the bank to lock him up. Because I don't see the Dodgers after him. I don't see a lot of the big teams that have the money to do it, really breaking out the bank for it. And I think he's limited in the number of clubs that can do that. So the Yankees, I think, would be an ideal spot for him.
Yeah.
I love this guy.
That would really anchor the outfield a little bit too.
I just, obviously you know, you got Judge. He got his position. There you got, you know, Verdugo now. As far as the other one, you know, platooning, right? Like you said, mixed in there. You can't, you know, rely on some of this big bats because, like you said, Donnie, they're injured all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
all right,
been the biggest
can you
problem every
truly
year.
right? Can you truly you know, believe me and tell me? Can you truly tell me that Giancarlo Stanton is going to play you know, over 50% of the games this year?
No.
Personally, I wish we just had a way of getting rid of him. To be honest with you, I wish we could just like jettison that contract and him.
Well, to me, Stanton's going to be taking up a lot of your DH at bats because he's become a little bit of a liability in the field these days. So, but the problem is that he's become such a strikeout or home run guy. There's not a lot of hitting the other way, which is something he used to be able to do quite well. He wasn't just a home run hitter; he was just a dangerous hitter. And now he's become such an all or nothing type, like a Chris Davis and Adam Dunn, someone of that nature, where you're batting 190, but you can still club 30 home runs or more.
So I did I watch I suffered through this, okay, Donnie, but I watch a lot of Yankees games on purpose because I wanted to see Giancarlo Stanton batting, right?
Right.
And then all he is arms. He does not move his core. He no longer does that, right? That's when he was dangerous with Miami, he was using his whole body to move the ball, right? Not just, you know, not just home runs, but doubles, triples, singles, right? He was getting those RBIs. Soon as he got to the Yankees, the dude just like blew up. Like, you know, I think he's taking steroids. I'm kidding. But like, you know, he got so massive that all he thinks is that, oh, I can just muscle a ball out of here.
Yeah. And he's had some injury too. And I'm not so sure that it's not masking maybe some hip injury or some hip problems that he might be having. Because he certainly doesn't run anything out. He doesn't have any kind of speed. And he's all upper body. So you're right. I think maybe there's just some kind of nagging hip leg thing that
he's hiding.
It's hiding.
Well, and also when he uses just his arms like that, that's when he ends up with the oblique problems as well. Because like when he's swinging, like then those oblique injuries don't go away. So
like
they
linger.
They linger, and so that's what keeps him. That's what causes the comments made by Brian Cashman about he's injured all the time. Well, unless you really rest and try to rehab those obliques, it's going to come back. I mean, especially when you swing the way he does. I mean, he's always swinging for the fences. He just doesn't do what he used to do. He just doesn't let the barrel hit the ball. I mean, he used to do that. I mean, Ed said it perfectly about what he did in Miami.
Yeah.
He hit to all fields. He was like you couldn't pitch to him because he'd always put the ball in play. I mean,
he was that dangerous during that time.
He was. And I got really scared when he went to the Yankees. I'm like, oh no, here's like another. When they gave him the contract, I thought it was a good move because I just saw the player that he was. I mean, when you think about it, that was a scary outfield for the Marlins because I mean, they think about the players they had. I mean, that was a scary outfield that they just let all of them go. But
based on his production in Miami, he earned that contract.
He did.
However,
100%.
Now he's not, and it's interesting. I'm very intrigued because the Yankees, with that lineup, they should be better.
Yeah.
They should have at least one or two World Series. They should. It's just that's the fact. But they have not been able. Also, let's not talk. We cannot forget that they have a bad coach, a bad manager. I mean, so that's also part of the whole issue with the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, managing the game is not his forte. I mean, he's an all or nothing kind of guy too, and I despise that. I mean, I can't stand. They're like, oh yeah, but he's going to hit 30, 40. I don't care if you hit 80 home runs a year. It's 162 games. That's still only once every 2 games you're hitting a home run. And that one run or whatever it brings in, how much does that matter in the scheme of things? I mean, I don't get it that, oh, but he's a 30 home run hitter. Okay, that's 30 runs he scored.
And by the way, just a little fact here by Jeff Passan, free agent like the Yankees and Red Sox make only their 7th trade in the last half century.
Wow.
So that goes to show you they really.
I'm not surprised by that.
Nah.
Neither am I. So let's talk about a little free agent that just lingering out there right now. And I think you're right. I think we are talking about this off before we came live, right? That like I think everybody is waiting for Otani to sign with a team, and then that's where the trades are going to happen, right? You got the Blue Jays somehow. I love you, buddy. Somehow are still in it. The Blue Jays are still in it for somehow. I guess he's like, from reports, he loves the Blue Jays organization and what they have to offer and the young players. Hopefully the Blue Jays don't trade the players away as soon as they sign them.
I think the only holdup there is the exchange rate.
Woo!
That's probably the only holdup.
He is going to.
And also Ed's negative comments toward the Blue Jays that there's no way they'll get Otani.
I love Zach is like, Otani already signed with the Angels. Move on.
I feel your pain. I feel your pain, Zach. I feel your pain.
It's going to be interesting. And again, we're still waiting to see what happens, right? Like, I mean, nothing has been heard. The Yankees are out on it from what I understand. Cubs are out. Dodgers are in it. The Blue Jays, and then I don't know if it was anyone else that they're still in it.
The Braves were mentioned as like a mysterious third team that was still in the mix.
The mysterious, the dark horse is the Angels.
Yeah, so I mean, and I'll give this for the Angels. I'm going to make a pro Angels argument here. When Otani first came over and was posted and signed, no one expected it to be the Angels. Let's be honest. I mean, that's not. I mean, even though Moreno was known to spend big money, Otani, that's probably not the spot everyone expected Otani to end up in.
No.
So I think it says a lot about Otani that he's wanting to keep it quiet. He values certain things that maybe the media doesn't, and he's going to do things his own way. So, I say credit to him. It may make people like Buster Olney upset, but I say kudos to Shohei because he's doing it the way he's keeping it private, because I think he's a relatively private person in a lot of cases anyway.
He is.
So I say kudos to him wherever he does end up, because he's going to make it the best decision for him, which is exactly what he should do.
And then I want to read that tweet right from Buster Olney. Shohei Otani's top secret free agency is silly, and missed opportunity for him to in the sport. I don't think so.
How I don't understand how that's a missed opportunity. That's only a missed opportunity for him to have something to report about.
But because I literally retweeted. I quote tweeted as like, I'm 100% disagree with this tweet, because speculation has been great for baseball because no one knows where he's gonna go.
Right.
Only he knows, him and his agent know. And there's so much speculation that is making this so much better. Major League Baseball is loving this right now.
Well, and the best thing about it is it's not just the Yankees and the Dodgers. It's Toronto, it's San Francisco, it's the Dodgers are in there, but it's not, and the Cubs, the Braves kind of thrown around. It's a mixture of teams, but it's not like, well, there's only 3 teams he might be going to, and it's the Dodgers back to the Angels or the Yankees. And everybody's like, well, that doesn't, the Toronto angle on this, whatever it is good for baseball, because that's a market that most people don't think about somebody like him even considering.
Mm-hmm.
No. In fact,
and it's a great market.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, and for a lot of people, just as a Blue Jays fan for many years, usually mentioning Toronto as a non-starter for a lot of free agents for a lot of reasons. I mean, but there are a lot of players that, quite frankly, Toronto doesn't even enter their consideration because of the exchange rate, because of Canadian rules. I mean, Canadian law. I mean, there are a lot of factors that make Toronto a less appealing place to play baseball for family reasons. So like the fact of the matter is, people want to be in a place a lot of times like a New York or a Los Angeles or San Diego on the West Coast. I mean, or even a place like Seattle. I mean, or a historic place like Chicago Cubs, like Chicago or Boston. So it's nice. It's just nice for once, even if I don't really believe at the end of the day that Shohei will end up in Toronto. I really don't. I hope I'm wrong, but it's just nice to even be a part of the conversation and feel like ownership is at least, and from my sources, they've really put their best foot forward in trying to get him to Toronto. I mean, they've really tried to pull out all the stops, and it's really just going to be a matter of where is Shohei going to be comfortable. So I'm just glad they're putting their everything into it, and they're not kind of halfway going in. They're like, if we're doing this, we're going to give it our best shot. And and they're not sharing it. They're kind of keeping it under wraps, which I appreciate. So
yeah, I'm loving it. I really am. I am absolutely loving the fact that, like, and this is the, you guys already know, this is the kind of business that we're trying to get into, right? And sports talk and all of this. That's why we have our show and all of that fun stuff, right? And we're having fun with this. But like, there's nothing absolutely wrong with Shohei Ohtani wanting to keep it private. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Well, and I would say that a lot of these people like Buster Olney see it as a missed opportunity to invade Shohei's privacy.
Right.
I mean that's how I see it, is that there's no law that says he has to, give an expert like 24/7 access to his decision making, because I think we live in a society now where so many people depend on experts and influencers to try to tell them what's going on or what they should think or what they want to do. But Shohei's not the typical free agent. I mean, he's arguably the biggest free agent in baseball history. He has the right to do it his own way. He's played his way into being able to do that. So it's not his fault that he just, because of what he's done in the game, that he invites a lot of increased media scrutiny. I mean, he has every right to do it how is best for him and his family and for those closest to him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, guys like Buster Olney, they're just like Shefty and those guys in the NFL. They have so many sources. They're after anybody in any way, shape, or form that's connected to an organization to just, the guy that's the garbage man that's just kind of standing there. It's like, hey, what have you seen? I saw Ohtani walk down the hall today. Boom, I want to run with that. That kind of stuff. They're looking for those little tidbits everywhere. And it's like, just let the process happen. And then when it happens, let it, report about it.
Yep. 100%.
And Zach's absolutely right with this, by the way.
Of course, Zach is right with everything. He always is. That man knows his stuff.
He's forgotten more than I know.
I know.
I didn't know, to be honest with you. It's like, yeah, you get paid in US dollar, but subject to Ontario and Canada taxes. So I mean, that's
and Blue Jays fans, whenever we look at free agents, we call it the Blue Jays tax, because if you're going to get the same take home pay that you get, somewhere that say doesn't have income taxes, the Blue Jays had to pay over the odds. I mean, they had to do that with George Springer to try to get to the average annual value that other teams were offering him, like the Mets. Blue Jays had to pay over the odds, but we know when we're attracting free agents that we have to do that. It's a good thing we're owned by a Canadian media conglomerate. So it's not like if they want to put the money forward, they can certainly do it. But
yeah.
So
so let's talk about something else that that we've been talking about, and it's been something very interesting, right? And I don't know, and to be honest with you guys, I don't see the positive in this at all. And this is the story about Diamond Baseball Holdings, right? Acquiring, and Zach, you've been very vocal, and I appreciate you, buddy, because you've been, really posting this a lot on social media, and they keep acquiring minor league teams left and right. And how is this good for minor league baseball?
Yeah, I was just looking here real quick too. They were just founded in 2021. They've only existed for 2 years.
But who owns them?
They operate 28 minor league teams now. That's insane. Yeah. That's I don't know. That's just not right. It's got to be I don't know what the right word is, but like I don't know. It's just it's
a monopoly almost.
Monopoly. That's the word I was looking for. It's a monopoly on the minor league ownership.
Yeah.
Giving you right there, your shout out, little Zach, right there. Is this good for minor league baseball? Is it too corporate? Are the owners sell us? Does it still feel homegrown? Is this considered eliminating small business? Right? Guys, it's one of those things. Like, I mean, look at that.
Yep.
The Louisville
Yeah.
Bats, Diamond
New
Baseball
Hampshire,
Holdings,
Michigan.
New Hampshire. I mean, there's and on and on and on about
And the Woo Sox.
right.
Yeah. I mean, and then I think the asking price for the Woo Sox was around 80 million. So I'm wondering, did DBH pay 80 million for Worcester? It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, now obviously not every organization is going to have command that type of price tag, but I'm just wondering, do they have to pay the asking price, or do they, because what they do is they come in and they just keep everybody in place. They just buy them. So
Yep.
like in Worcester, Larry Lucchino is probably still going to stay in place, barring something else. And I mean, I felt it from the very beginning because I think it was either the first or second that they bought was the Gwinnett Stripers. So
I mean, the St. Paul Saints, who would you have thought that, you would have never thought that the St. Paul Saints were going to be sold to a conglomerate, like to a corporate,
yeah.
and that happened. That's my worry right there, guys.
Well, yeah, and I worry about.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Donnie.
As I said, they've acquired 14 teams in 2023 now. That's half of what they own. They've acquired just this year. And
didn't I hear that they're going to acquire as many as 50? It was something I read somewhere that like the long-term plan, over the next several years is to get as many as 50, or something along those lines. And so I think Zach's got a really great point. And then what I wonder, and this is pure speculation on my part, but what's the link with Major League Baseball and all this?
Oh, I'm with you. I've been asking the same question.
So I'm not saying I think Major League Baseball is fine with them owning it, but I think Major League Baseball, I'm wondering, maybe they like this because maybe with the DBH, they can make the type of facility improvements that Major League Baseball is looking for to try to have these affiliated teams in stadiums with their players that they're expecting. So they can, so maybe these PDAs, these player development agreements, that instead of having an owner that can barely field a team, they're thinking, we can have one that we know is going to have endless resources to try to make all the necessary improvements that are needed. I'm not saying that as a positive, but I'm saying Major League Baseball might see that as a positive. I don't like it because I think it takes away the magic of minor league baseball, honestly.
How much longer until DBH starts buying more successful summer collegiate teams?
What's stopping them?
I was just gonna say, and listen, and let's look at it from the business side of things, right? This is super smart on their part. It is profitable, right? And it's making money because what do they do? They don't own the players, right? No, the major league team does. All they have to worry about is the stadium, which I'm sure they can afford to start doing the renovations in order to comply with Major League Baseball, right? Concessions, and then you have obviously merchandising and all that. So it's a smart business. It's a smart business.
Yeah, I mean, if people are selling out to you, then they're seeing something that they like, and maybe it's just the dollars and cents that they're getting for the return on their investment. But it's I mean, I'll tell you from a season or two of them owning the Gwinnett Stripers, I can tell you firsthand. I mean, I don't think anything's gone really downhill. And maybe I still think I've still been holding back my real opinion until I see long-term what they do. But I mean, just knowing people that have worked under their ownership for a while, I've not heard a lot of negative things, but it's so I don't really have a problem with what they've done with the Stripers individually, but it's the number of teams that they're buying and monopolizing the minor league ownership that I have the biggest problem with.
Exactly. It is at the rate at which they are doing it.
Yeah. It's not like they're just acquiring a couple here, a couple there. In 3 years, they went from 9 to whatever to 9 to 14 to 28. I mean, they basically doubled in 1 year what they did the first 2 years.
And they're grouping announcements. So they'll announce 3 to 4 at a time. Sometimes it's all in one announcement. Sometimes it's over a day and a half or so. But if you look back at their announcements, they're grouping them. And so,
Breaking news: the EFA was purchased by the local Piggly Wiggly and pawn shop.
man, I was hoping you were going to say they were bought by the former Baby Cakes owners, and you're going to become the EFA Baby Cakes podcast or something. I don't know.
I'm sure that it's in the works,
Yeah.
So we'll see,
I mean,
Johnny Bowl.
it's actually a pretty good diverse spread of teams across, A, AAA, AA. I mean,
Yeah.
if you just run down the list, I'll be quick with this, but I'm just going to read you the first names: Albuquerque, Altoona, Augusta, New Hampshire, Birmingham, Down East, Fresno, Gwinnett, Hickory, Hudson Valley, Iowa, Lansing, Memphis, Midland, Mississippi, Norfolk, Oklahoma City, Portland, Rome, Salem, San Jose, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Springfield, St. Paul, Vancouver, Wichita, Worcester. I mean, that's a very diverse group, but it's, again, it's alarming at the same time. But they're all across everything. So I don't know. I'm like you, Patrick. I don't know if this bad or if it's really bad or good. I don't think it can be good in some ways, but maybe it can be in some ways. It just depends on how they invest in.
Look at that.
In these teams. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Triple A, double A, single A, like double A, single A, triple A, high A. I mean, and the list goes on and on and on and on, right? I mean, it's wild to me. They don't have any collegiate woodbed as of right now, but look at what they have in the Pacific, right? Eastern League, Carolina League. There's a couple of Carolina leagues there, but if you look at the International League, that's 1, 2, that's 3 teams, 4 teams, 5 teams in the International League.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, the people that own Diamond Holdings are they're investment firms. Silver Lake is actually the owner.
Well, so originally it wasn't DBH. Originally, there was another holding company that originally bought like the Stripers and everybody, and then there was some type of ownership, like conflict of interest issue that they had to sell it to DBH. So they had to like reorganize and then, there was another company that was founded, and that was DBH. So, because if you look back, that there was originally the Stripers and like the Braves affiliates were sold to another holding company, private equity firm.
It says here Endeavor Group is who originally formed it.
Yeah, that's who it was.
They were part of William Morris Agency.
Yes.
And they were majority owners of of the WWE and the UFC and professional bull riders.
Yep.
They also represent some NFL and NHL.
Yep. So I think the conflict of interest had to do with being agents in those leagues, or like in sports, and then actually having a controlling ownership interest, and then they had to rule that they had to sell them. So Endeavor had to flip them, had to flip the teams, and then that's when they sold it to Diamond Baseball Holdings.
I don't know, guys. I just, something doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to boil down to how much do they suck out of the budgets of each of these teams for their own profit, and how does that affect how these teams run? Because every team is on tight budgets in minor league baseball as it is, and now you've got a company that's going to expect returns. I mean, heck, I used to work for a corporation that bought out 2 small privately owned printing companies I worked for, and their only concern was that you met a certain percentage of profitability on everything, and they dumped customers we had relationships with 20 years because it's pay this price or go somewhere else. They didn't care.
Yeah,
but isn't that company? Well,
it's like I said in our text chain earlier. It's a corporatization thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I'm with Johnny on this one. Rebrand the Mississippi Braves. I 100%
honestly,
agree with that.
I've got a theory on that. I'm wondering if the Mississippi Braves will stay in Mississippi. I could be wrong on that, but I've been wondering, are they going to relocate them closer to the Braves? And the reason and my example of that is what is what's happening in down east and moving them to Spartanburg. That's not necessarily closer geographically, but in Pearl, Mississippi, I'm wondering if they'll keep them there or they'll move them somewhere closer. I have no story to back that up. I have no theory for it. It's just kind of a thought. But if they do stay, I can see them rebranding because, as you've seen, they already did it with Rome.
Yeah.
I think they're probably going to do it with Mississippi if they stay there at some point, or if they move them somewhere else, they'll get a brand new identity.
Which is the smart thing to do.
Right.
It's funny.
I'll give them that. Like the Rome Emperors, if they're hiring people like Dan Simon to come up with new identities, then kudos to them. I mean, that's like the Rome Emperors one has been universally well received from what I've seen. And, Dan knocked that one out of the park. So so if they keep making moves like that, that's at least one positive thing. There are still negative things that you can't ignore, but that's a good first impression, at least with the ownership of the Rome organization.
Right. They still have 7 out of their 28. You take Rome out where they changed the name of Rome, and they still have 7 teams that are named for parent companies.
And I'm sure that's going to change. I'm sure if they see at the landscape of how that's going, I'm sure they'll change that.
Oh yeah, when they see the merchandising, that money that could be made, all 7 teams are going to lose those.
I mean, this group alone is spending a lot of money on hats on hats alone, guys. So let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, I'll be interested to see if they can actually pull that off with like an Iowa Cubs, for instance, because the Cubs have always loved keeping their names. But of course, the same could be said to the Braves too. So I was shocked when it started happening to Braves franchises.
Good.
I mean, there's a few. I mean, San Jose Giants, that's pretty long-standing, parent team name in the same area. And I could see that. I could see some of these like Oklahoma has no tie to the Dodgers. They don't need to be the Oklahoma City Dodgers.
None whatsoever.
But I could see like
why they came from Red Hawks, I don't know.
Yeah, Iowa and San Jose, maybe of those right there, retaining that. And who knows? Maybe the Mississippi Braves stay the Mississippi Braves if they keep them in Mississippi. Maybe.
I mean, but of the names of the teams that have like those names, I could easily, just based on what's happened to in the farm system, like the other affiliates, I could easily see the Mississippi Braves changing their name.
I can see that too. And then I wonder because, all right, so a way to circumvent the 10-year contract with a major league team is moving the club.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, look at what they did with that. Look at what they're doing with Down East. Like Kinston doesn't have the money to make the improvements to the park over there that they need to. So then they're like, well, I think I think when they bought Down East, they had that plan in place because talks with Spartanburg didn't just happen. They've been going on for several years. So
let's not talk about Spartanburg.
Yeah. Sorry, that's still, that wound is still too fresh. I'm sorry.
It's still too fresh.
Yeah, my bad.
One of these days I'll get that hat. Somebody will be like, "Hey, Ed, I found this hat." I'm like, "Yeah."
And that was a dad hat, wasn't it, that you bought?
Yeah, I bought the dad hat, the one with the fries on it.
You know what? One day that's going to end up on eBay, and then Donnie's going to accidentally buy it, and it's actually the one that you bought.
Yeah. Watch it be that. That would be the most hilarious thing.
Hey, Ed, I got your receipt.
Right, exactly.
It'll pop up.
Receipt.
It'll pop up on there in the description. It'll say new warehouse stock or something like that. They found the box.
Yep. Dead stock.
Donnie's had to wait for the Spartan Burgers to leave. That's funny. Ed asked, where's the beef? Yeah, listen.
Where's the money? More like it.
Yeah, where's my money?
Yeah, where's the money that you paid for that hat?
That's what I want to know, guys. But whatever.
When the team moves to Spartanburg, you should say, "I've already made a down payment on a seat."
Right.
So
I made a down payment on a new dad hat.
Yeah. Just say, "I've already invested money in Spartanburg baseball, so you should send me a free dad hat on the house."
That would be funny. That would be hilarious.
At some point they just need to start calling them the Ed hats.
They should. At this point, it's okay.
The Ed hat.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen, guys.
Well, and I want to talk to 47 for a minute. You know, you have the 47 trawler, you have the 47, cleanup, you have the 47 franchise. Why can't you have the 47 Ed?
I'm with you. I'm
There you
100% with you there, buddy.
So 47, if you're watching, shout out to you guys. You make great hats. But let's get the 47 Ed out in production.
By the way,
Let's
I
go.
just tried to get the Spartan Burgers website. It's available.
Oh, really?
The domain is available.
You should buy the domain and just put on there, "Hey Spartan Burgers, where's my hat?"
Right. Still waiting, guys.
Put up an advertisement.
Still waiting for my head.
Yeah,
I'll give you my new address. It's okay. It'll get here. Don't worry.
I've heard of shipping delays, but come on.
Brad goes like, I own one dad hat, and the team went defunct a couple months later. What's the team? I want to know.
Mhm.
I don't fault Ed. They had some cool
Please
logos
let
in
me Spartan Burgers.
I'm just saying,
Uh,
you know.
I hope the one dad hat he owns is a Spartan Burgers hat. That would
I
be
know,
classic.
dude. That'll be so
That'd be
hilarious.
classic.
That would be funny. I would die if it's actually the Spartan Burgers.
The Plainsman.
The Plainsman. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. I got me a Plainsman's hat, actually.
Yeah, I do too. I have one of
I do
those.
too.
And I was kind of disappointed that
I got the one with the Plainsman on it. The character one, not the one with the P, not the NP
I got
one.
the green, the green one with the character on it myself.
Yep.
So do I.
One.
I got the black one. No, I got the black. It's black, but has a character on it, and it was sent to me. I'll say this, guys, and I've been very lucky. Since I started doing this, I've been very lucky to have some of those teams send me some. Chuck, great person. He's actually sent me. I had them on the podcast. You guys should listen to that episode.
Chuck
really
Heeman. Chuck Heeman.
Yep. So
that was a good episode.
It was. It really was. The latest one was actually really good as well. I don't know if you guys heard that one. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. Something about a mayor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
And so, I mean, we'll see what happens, right?
Yep.
And then the last thing, guys, and I think this whole episode, this whole show tonight has been nothing but baseball talk. But the fact that, and you brought this up, Patrick, the Atlantic League and Major League Baseball ending their partnership.
Yeah.
So, that's interesting, right?
It is.
Who divorced who in this marriage?
And I've yet to listen to the podcast that the Indie Ball Report did on, at least, and Zach could probably, I was gonna say, I think Zach could probably speak better to this than I could, but all I saw was the report on Twitter X about it, that they'd ended their partner league relationship. And I don't know if that takes away the partner league name, or if it's just the stopping of testing rules, or does it go further than that? And I guess the question you brought up rightly, Ed, is, who ended it? Was it Major League Baseball, or was it the Atlantic League? Now, I've heard intimations that it was the Atlantic League that did, but because I know that they've had some organizational problems, or at least it seems like it. I don't know, and I don't know if that's that may be completely unfounded, but I've just seen people out there talking about this. There are other issues than, say, the issue with the team in Gastonia and some other things. There's just a lot of outlying issues within the league, and it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with all that.
Zach, you said it. The Atlantic League is such a mess. Their issues is bigger than Gastonia. And I feel bad because you got some. You got a new team. They just the Hagerstown. The boxcars, right? The Rockers, which is a great name, great ballpark, great team.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder if at some point the Atlantic League gets swallowed up by, by another league.
Well, and it's happened in recent history. The Can-Am League, got swallowed up essentially by wasn't it the Frontier League, where the Can-Am teams essentially, Can-Am folded, and then they pulled basically all the Can-Am teams into the Frontier League, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Frontier League might just look at sitting back and waiting to see what happens between the Atlantic League, and see what happens, right? I mean, I'm interested to see, right? I mean, listen, I'm not as as plugged in when it comes to the indie ball as indie ball report is. But I just find it very interesting that some these rumblings are starting to happen now in Major League Baseball. So if these partner leagues they go away, right? Do you have these collegiate wood bat leagues now take over for as far as the testing of these rules now?
Well, I mean, how sustainable are some of these leagues as their own entity also without that partnership? Can they financially keep going or not? I mean,
because Major League Baseball does spend a lot of money in them.
Yeah, but they also, a lot of these teams have a good following in their local communities right now too. So I don't know. It's one of those. Does it just like, does the quality go down because of the money situation and then it just fades away, or can they get a good backer somehow?
Yeah. Well, and I would also counter with the fact that they survive. Most of them survived without Major League Baseball. So I think that a lot of them could do it again. Now, again, that's not a one size fits all. I just talked about the Can-Am League, but there's teams within the leagues that fall in and fall out, but the leagues themselves have been around for a while. I mean, Atlantic League with all its mess has been around for a while. I mean, then when you got teams like the Long Island Ducks, to me, when I didn't even follow independent baseball, two teams always stood out. It was the St. Paul Saints and the Long Island Ducks. Those were the two teams that I knew, without even following independent baseball very much at all. Those were always two teams that I knew.
Right.
But the Frontier League has been out there. I think the Pioneer League has a good base, and they're adding to it. So with the Oakland Ballers. So I don't know what it's going to look like if Major League Baseball pulls out of some or all of them, but it's going to be interesting to see. I'm just interested to see what do the Frontier League and the American Association and Pioneer League do now that the Atlantic League is pulled out of their agreement. Do any of them follow suit? Do they stay on, or does Major League Baseball like back one to call like their real partner league, or do they pull back and focus on the draft league?
I mean, they do have some good partnerships with some of those leagues. Like, they got their own Major League Baseball draft league, right? So they have that. Are they going to grow that now? Are they going to invest the money in growing that league into more teams, right? Because it was originally supposed to be more teams, but obviously the pandemic happened, so that had slowed things down. You got the Appy League, who is growing like crazy, right? Yep. Then you also have the Northwoods League. Yeah, and we haven't even talked about the Northwoods League as being one of those, premier leagues out there right now, and they are
and they're growing.
With their partnership with the ESPN Plus, and you said they're growing. I mean, that's pretty. They've
already added 2 teams for next year. They added Badlands Big Sticks, and then they added one other one. I can't remember the name, but so they're expanding, and they added a team the year before and Minot. So they're continuing to grow.
I mean, it could be that these guys looked around and saw, maybe they saw what the Appalachian League was doing and some of these others, and because you said they maybe seem to be the one that pulled out of it, not Major League Baseball. So maybe they were just like, hey, we want to control our own thing, and they see some of these other leagues that are doing it and said, hey, let's pull away and kind of restructure and do our own thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of good talk this episode, guys, when it comes to baseball. It's Royal Oak Leprechauns and Badlands.
That's what it was.
Yep.
Thank you, Zach. I knew you would know.
Of course he does. Northwoods tried to get into Sioux City, but it looks like the Explorers will return.
I think it was Zach too that pointed out yesterday that with the Ballers releasing their schedule, they had a to be determined California team listed on their schedule. Did y'all see that?
I did see that.
Yeah.
Which league was that, Donnie?
The Oakland Ballers.
Yep.
Yeah.
They put out the 2024 schedule, and some of their games were against Cal, which was listed as a to be determined California team.
Oh, well, I wonder if Lancaster is going to try to get back in. You heard, a couple years ago how Lancaster, they tried to bring in a team in the Pecos League with them, and then
The
and they
Jethawk,
declined
yeah.
it. So I'm wondering, is this bringing baseball back to Lancaster, or there's a couple
We
places in
talked about
California.
the length of
Bakersfield?
travel for Oakland. They were going to have to travel so far, so maybe they're throwing a second team there to help with that.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm wondering, like, where in California could it be? Lancaster? Could it be Bakersfield? Where people can bake in that hot sun again in Bakersfield.
Bro, if they bring up Bakersfield, let it be the Blaze, man.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Please.
I want a Bakersfield deadhead so bad.
And I know that we're about to wrap up, but can we give a shout out to Jim Leland for being elected into the Hall of Fame?
Oh yeah.
Oh, for real, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was very cool. I've always liked him. He's a really good guy.
Lancaster is turning their stadium into a soccer stadium.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
But you can still play soccer in a minor league baseball. That has been proven, with minor league baseball, right? Minor league soccer across the board.
I don't recommend it though. Gwinnett tried it with Atlanta United too. It was less than ideal.
Well, Omaha
does it, and Tulsa.
Yeah. I mean, Omaha's done it. With Union Omaha. They've done it really in a good way.
Yeah.
So,
see, look at that. Brett, Omaha, yeah. And that was a beautiful ballpark. When we were there. So it's interesting. I want to see how when we were there for a couple of years from now, how developed that area is going to be in a couple of years, right? Because you can definitely tell there's a lot of room up there for some development.
Where they're at and how that's so spread out, it's very mirroring of what we talked about with Kansas City out there with Arrowhead and everything. There's nothing around Kauffman Stadium right now, and if they just developed around the stadium that existed, it would be so much better. And that's the same with Omaha. It's a new stadium, but it's kind of the same visually. To me, it's the same idea. Like when we were at Omaha, you just look around, it's like all this empty land right around it that it's not parking lot, but it's basically dirt and grass. And then we go down to Kansas City, and it's the same thing. It's just all paved parking around the stadium. So just develop around it.
I got to get me to a Northwoods League this year. Northwoods game this year. That's the goal, guys. That is the goal, to get to a game in the Northwoods League, because that'll be awesome to watch. Some collegiate wood bet up there in Michigan or any of those, up in there, the peninsula.
My goal is to make it to Curb Rim weekend in North Carolina.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be, obviously we got that in, coming here for Curb Rim, but if we can do like something like that sometime by like August, later on in the season when it's not, when it's nice and cool and it's not super hot, that'll be the perfect time to do that at Curb Rim up there. So,
I like that.
All right, gentlemen, we're at the top of the hour. Again, the time flies when we're having fun, with this. Obviously, we were supposed to be talking some football, the NFL football, right? There was some games going on. A lot of injuries happened, but it is what it is. We're okay with that. Our first love is baseball, as you guys already know. Make sure you guys are listening to the Data Chronicles podcast. Actually, that episode is the three of us talking about our recent discussion when it comes to the college football playoffs and how that was a hot mess, and how Florida State got screwed out of that, the top four. So make sure you guys watch that. Make sure you guys watch this guy right there that I'm looking at the top right there, Patrick Larson. He has his wonderful MILB head history. What do you got going on, my friend?
Well, new video drops tomorrow, and we're taking it back to the collegiate summer leagues this week, and we're gonna be talking about the Orleans Firebirds. So
I love it.
So a lot more history in this one than hats, but be sure to check that out. So Orleans Firebirds.
Wrong with that. Nothing wrong.
No,
with
I'm good
that.
with it. It just shows you how hard some of those Cape Cod League hats are to get if you don't actually go to the
Dude,
field.
I actually have
So,
just one Cape Cod League hat, one that hat, one.
I mean, it's just motivation to go. So, I mean, I need to do actually what our friend Zach Beeson does and actually go to the stadium to get the hat rather than just order it over the phone or through a website. So I've got to I've got to give it the Zach Beeson treatment.
I want to do Arizona Fall League just for that reason too, because you can't order them either.
Right.
It's very true, but it's very hard to get some Cape Cod gear. I mean,
is.
I had to literally call
Yep.
to get a Cape Cod League hat.
I've had to pull a lot of strings and call like several people for one club. I've talked to the board of directors. I've talked to people in the communities to try to get some of these hats. So
guys, if you ever need some help looking for a hat, Patrick Larson is your man. Hit him up. Slide into his DMs on Twitter or Instagram. He will help you. I'm telling you, the guys found one I had that I was looking for the other day, and he goes like, "Here it is. Here, hold on a second. No joke. We were literally talking about it, and he found it."
He's the hat hacker. He's got the cheat codes for all the deals.
He's the hat whisperer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh man, I don't know about that. But
you literally said I don't even see this on the team website, and like within 30 seconds, he's like, "There's your link.
Here's your link. Go have fun." I'm like, Jesus, dude, that's insanity.
It's called dumb luck sometimes.
Brett, I did a feature episode of my podcast for Fall Mouth, and they gave me a Fall Mouth shirt, but a Cape, hey, ain't nothing wrong with that.
So, so a guy I used to work with actually just became the village manager for the village of Falmouth up there. So, just out of nowhere. And then I was having a conversation. People said, yeah, he went to somewhere called Falmouth. I said, oh, where the Falmouth Commodores are. So, it's funny how you can always relate anything to minor league baseball in some way. So everyone always looks at me and they're like, "You're talking about minor league baseball again, aren't you?" I said, "Am I ever talking about anything else?" And they're like, "No."
So. I literally did the exact same thing. I was like, "Oh yeah, this place, home of this team," and they're like, "Yeah, how do you know?" I was like, "Don't worry about it. It's cool." This is what I do, guys. This is what I do. So, Donnie, you're back on Thursday. You will be back in your home office, your studio. Yep. I know you're excited. Have you been able to buy any hats while on your trip, my friend?
Oh, I want to do this.
Hopefully Ron is not listening right now.
No, I haven't. So
that's for the trip home tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Well, my flight's at 3:00 tomorrow, and I've got to get up to Cleveland, at a certain time because the guy that is going to take me's got a window of opportunity to run me up there to the airport. But I'm trying to look and see how close it is to swing through Akron on the way to where he's at. So we'll see.
Have you ever been?
I'm literally like less than 10 minutes or 10 miles from Akron as it is, and where I've got to go meet him to drop off my truck and ride to the airport with him might bring a swing through there. We'll see.
Have you ever been to that ballpark?
I have not. My problem is I've been working 10, 12-hour days. So I leave out at 8 in the morning. I get back over here at 8 at night. There's not been an opportunity. So
it's a beautiful ballpark, man. Yeah. It's absolutely a beautiful ballpark. It's absolutely one of my favorites. Dimensions, I believe the actual baseball field dimensions are the exact same as Progressive Field, from what I understand. So
that's awesome.
And then I want to give you guys a shout out. A shout out to like next week. I told you guys my hard drive, I was able to fix it somehow. And I got the episodes that I have left, the 2 episodes that I had left that I was there that I wanted to keep. Eric Lichtenberg next week, guys. I was able to get that one. So Eric Lichtenberg, we had a great conversation. You guys are going to want to listen to it because he loves his ice cream helmet. Shout out to him. Look at this thing, guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
he does such good work.
That's a beauty.
Not only that, but look at that thing.
Nice.
And I'm never going to miss an opportunity. Speaking of Eric Lichtenberg, to shout him out for the logos. If you like the logos for the MILB Hat History series, that's 100% Eric Lichtenberg's work. So
listen, Eric, we're just giving you props, my friend. You're the man, dude.
Well, if it weren't for him, I wouldn't even. If it weren't for Eric, I wouldn't even have branding.
So Ed,
Shout out to Eric
helmet
Lichtenberg.
back up. Look, it looks just like this hat, doesn't it?
Hey, I know that hat. Look at that. What? Look at that. That Chronicles hat. I gotta give him a shout out. The guy is an absolute wonderful genius when it comes to that. Shout out. Listen, I'm drinking my Lonely Blonde tonight. I said it early in the episode, but look at that. Drinking that one for you, my friend. So look at those stickers. Look at that thing. How cool is that? We're gonna have to talk to Eric. Maybe he'll be able to do something for like the Dead Hat Chronicle Sports Show for us, maybe put our faces or something. We're gonna have to talk to him about that. I love that one. That was a cool one. The hat.
Yeah, I like
that. All Eric Lichtenberg's idea. He gets all the credit.
So, but guys, thank you again for listening. We will be back next week, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern. I still have the list here, boys, of how we did on our picks. Let me tell you, we're getting better. We are getting better. So
we only had one way to go. So
and only up, exactly, only up. So we will see you guys next week. Same channels, right? Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, even on week. Patrick. This week. On Patrick Larson's Twitter as well. So catch us there. And then you know what? Support the minor leagues, guys.
Definitely.
Bye.
Absolutely. Bye.
Take on the world.